Hello, everyone. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here at this month's AMP partner webinar because I have a very special friend that is here today to present to you. I'm not going to tell you a lot about her because I'm sure she's going to share that in her presentation, but Annie and I have known each other for a little under 10 years.
Yeah.
We met through a mutual friend and we worked together when I was at the Florida Center for Hormones and Wellness, and she is a brilliant woman. So if you just started this video and you're thinking about stopping, don't. Watch to the end because you're going to learn a lot. And if you're here with us live tonight, same thing. Put your phone away. Just enjoy everything that Annie Figenshu has to teach you. Annie, please
Yes.
take it away, my love.
Well, hello, AMP people. I'm so glad to be here with you. We are going to talk about a very simple way that you can talk about what you do and your business and your practice in a way that's actually going to make more sense to your audience and a way that's going to actually propel them to do the things that you want them to do. And we're going to kind of do it in a little bit of a different way. So I'm going to share with you this idea. It's called StoryBrand. Some of you may have read this book, Building a Story Brand. Maybe you've read Building a Story Brand 2.0. I think it's a really helpful idea because basically, much like how an actor on a stage needs to have a script in order to know what to say, you as a marketer or someone who's handling the marketing at your company or at your practice, you can have a brand script to know what to say in your marketing. And so the same way that an actor will use those scripts time and time and time again and have them memorized and the audience will have it sort of committed to heart, that's the same thing that you're going to learn how to do tonight. Because here's the issue: so many companies waste huge amounts of money on their marketing. They will have these like really pretty websites. You've probably seen them. You've probably gone to other practices, to their websites, or maybe you've had a website like that where it's just sort of like vague, like your journeys. I don't know what we're talking about here. So if you look here, I've got an example like, what am I learning more about? What am I getting started? Like, what is even happening here? This is the kind of generic website, like just these words that they're using in their artisan, innovative solutions. Like, I don't know what this means, and neither does anyone who's going to this website. So they're going to have to waste your time and waste their time to actually find out, clicking around, figuring out what learn more or get started means. But here's what we're going to do tonight: you're going to learn how people buy products or people take the step that you want them to take by reading or hearing the words that make them want to do so, the words that actually propel them to take the action that you want them to do. Because that's basically like we're all taking in information all the time, and our brains are just trying to figure out, like, can I use this? Like, we're just all these different messages are coming in, and our brains are like, is this going to help me? Is this thing for me? Is this going to help me? And when you're confusing your audience, then they're not exactly sure if that's going to do that, right? So your brain is working hard. It's like expending a lot of calories trying to make the decision as to whether or not you are for them. And we want to make it really simple because the bottom line is, if you're confusing people, you're going to lose them. They will scroll away, they will do something else, they will not take the action that you want them to take. So today, while we're going through some of the words that you can use, while we're going through some of these messages that you want to have, I want you to consider, like, how well is your brand doing with this, right? How well is your brand making it really clear? And one of the ways that you can make it really clear for your audience is by telling them a story. We all know stories. There's When we all talk about like a Hollywood story or a really predictable story, it's because we know how it's going to go. So the idea here is that we use that framework. We use that just the different ways that we've already seen over and over and over again, those formulas, in stories, we're going to use that to our advantage. We're going to use that in your marketing. But it's a little bit different than what you might think, because so often people are like, oh, yes, we're telling our story. We are telling our story in our marketing. And we really like to make sure people understand how long we've been in the community. And we want to make sure that they understand how we got started and what kinds of stuff we offer. And all of those things are great. But there's a way that we can have that information in your marketing in a way that makes your audience or your patients or your potential patients the hero of the story. So they're getting that information, but it's more how it's serving them. So it's less about you and it's more about them. Because that's the idea, is we don't want to confuse them, because if you confuse them, you're going to lose them. So we want to really make them the hero of the story. They are going to be the center, and we are going to orient everything that you say in your marketing all about them. So my name is Annie Figenshu. I am certified in StoryBrand. I read the book years and years and years ago, and I have a history in theater. I used to actually be a professional comedian. I would go on stage and I would make up stories with my fellow castmates, and we learned story structure, the very story structure that we use in improv shows to create musicals on the spot. That's the kind of stuff that you're going to learn how to do today in your marketing. That same story structure is going to serve you and serve your clients. I have gotten I've got such an innate understanding of StoryBrand. I've been trained by the person who wrote the book, Building a StoryBrand. His name is Donald Miller. And so now I actually get hired by StoryBrand to train other people to become coaches, because they say, you seem to have a pretty clear sense of how this all works. I'm also a MailChimp Pro partner, which means I know more than the average bear about MailChimp. So many of the techniques that we might talk about, if we get into some time today, I'm not exactly sure, but when we talk about email, when that works its way in every so often, we're talking about content, then I'll also have it through a little bit of that lens of just really understanding the power of email marketing as well, because I have that background. I wrote the book Simple Social Media. I'm the co-author of the book The Content Entrepreneur. And I have a company called Downstage Media, where we are a content marketing firm. We help you figure out how can you get the most out of the stuff that you're putting out, whether it's blog content or podcasts, email, social media. How do you actually get it so it does the things that you want it to do? And it actually moves the needle on your business. So you're actually increasing revenue. You're not just putting out more content. It's all about having a presence without the pressure. So story is something we all kind of know, right? We understand this Hollywood formula. So I'm going to tell you tonight how you can use that to your advantage by putting your audience as the heroes of the story. So let's think about it. Let's think about what we know about basic stories, right? We've got a character, somebody who wants something, right? And then, and so with that, like when you have a character who wants something, that's really important in the story, right? That's the basis. That's the idea. That's where it's all starting from, right? And so you want to make it really clear what it is that you are offering, because you want to make sure that you're offering what they want, right? So you want to make sure that you are really playing up the thing that your character wants, that your audience wants, so that way they are interested in the story that your brand is telling. And then a problem, right? So the character wants something, but something gets in the way of them actually getting it. That is a problem, right? So in stories, if you stop talking about your customer's problem, they stop paying attention to your brand. Jody, have you ever heard of a sleep story? Do you know what a sleep story is?
I have not heard of a sleep story.
Okay. So I have an app. It's like a meditation app, right? I mean, it's not like my app. It's just one that I have, and I use it. And the idea is that they will tell you stories at night, and the stories are so boring that it helps you fall asleep. That is the idea, right? So it's usually like about a train, you're on a train and they're just describing everything. Nothing really bad happens. There's no problem in the story. And so that is designed to get you to fall asleep. Now, you want to do the opposite with your story. You want your audience to pay attention. You don't want them to fall asleep. The way that they pay attention is when you talk about the problem that it is that you are solving. So, when you start really thinking about some of the issues that the treatments that you offer are going to solve for them, or what your brand does as a whole, what your practice does as a whole for them, and you start talking about those problems, they start paying attention. That makes it go from you and what you offer being a nice to have versus a need to have. Okay, so then we think about, all right, so we've got a character, we know what the character wants. The problem is the thing that gets in the way of them getting what they want. And they need someone to help them solve that problem because they may not know how to do it on their own. They need somebody who knows how they feel, and they need somebody who knows how to fix it. And guess what? That's your brand. That's your practice. That's you. So that's where you're going to step in there and you're going to say, hey, I know how hard it is to be living with what you've been living with all the time. We get it. We see patients who are like this every single day. And you know what? We have the solution for it. That kind of an approach helps them to trust you because they understand, yeah, I don't, like I want this, I want to be pain free, or I want to, whatever it is, right? I want this, I want that. But the problem is I can't get it because of X, Y, and Z. And so then you step in and you say, I understand. I know. And we're going to fix it. So this is where you remember that your customer is the hero of the story, not you. So they have the problem and you're just coming in there like, Glinda the Good Witch, or you are coming in there like Obi-Wan Kenobi, right? You are telling the Luke Skywalker what needs to happen. I know what you're going through. I know how to fix it. So then the next thing is, if we think about Glinda, right? What does she do? She tells Dorothy, you got to go on you got to follow the Yellow Brick Road, right? So that's something else that you want to be doing with your marketing is that you want to talk about the character. You want to talk about what the character wants. You want to talk about the problems that get in their way. You want to talk about how you know what they're going through and you know how to fix it. And then you want to tell them, here's how we're going to do it. First, we're going to do this. Then we're going to do this. And then we're going to do this. I know that you think it may not work, but we've done this for hundreds of people in your area who've been in the same position as you. And so what they do is they do this, and then they do this, and then they do that. So you want to make sure that you have a plan for what it is that you're offering. You know what? Actually, this reminds me. I had a chiropractor that I was going to for really it was for my daughter. My daughter had migraines, and so we were like, all right, we'll try chiropractic, see if that's going to help. And what was really frustrating about going to this chiropractor and over again was because she would give my daughter an adjustment. She would give my daughter a couple of different exercises to try. And then she'd say, okay, well, and then we'll see you a couple of times next week. But it wasn't like, what's the long-term plan? Like, what are we doing here? What's happening? Because she didn't give me a plan, because I didn't know anything other than maybe, like when I walked in there, I didn't know what was going to happen on the way out. And when I walked out that time, then I didn't really know what to expect. How long was it going to last? What should I do if she gets another migraine in between our next sessions? None of that stuff was answered for me. I didn't have a plan. And because of that, I didn't want to keep seeing her anymore. Once you find a practitioner who's like, yeah, this is how we do things. We do this, then we do this, then we do this. This is our process. This is what your experience is going to be like. You're going to experience this, and then this, and then that. Plans are super important for that reason, for people to understand that it's not so hard to actually get started working with you. They need a step-by-step plan to move forward, or else to be like, I don't know, it seems like a whole thing. I don't understand what's going on here. I don't know. There's like hormones. I don't know. Do I have to be, I don't get how this whole thing, I'm just not going to do it. But if you say, no, this is not a big deal at all. You're just going to come in, then you're going to do this. Then we'll just come in here, and then you're going to do that next. Once you get the results, then we're going to give you a treatment plan. It's totally fine. It's not a big deal. We do it all the time. Oh, great. Okay. Yeah, that doesn't sound like a big deal. Fine. Then calls them to action, right? So let's get moving. Schedule your appointment, book a call, fill out the intake form, whatever that thing is that's going to help people actually take the step that you need them to take. Now, there is two different ways. I was saying about how we create a lot of content, either for clients or just, at Downstage Media, I put out a lot of content myself. And so many times people will say, well, how do you actually, like, we can't always have every single social media post, for example, have a call to action that's like buy now or schedule an appointment. That's going to be too spammy over and over again. So sometimes in emails, in social media posts, blog posts, videos, the call to action may not necessarily be like to pay you money, but it might be to pay attention, right? So come here, click here, give us your email address, and we'll send you a quick video of exercises that you can do to alleviate, I don't know, maybe pain from a migraine. I don't know. I know HIPAA violation. I probably couldn't like say that be compliantly. I'm just making this up off the top of my head, but something like that, right? So basically, you give us your email address and we'll give you something else in exchange for that that's going to be really helpful for you. So even though at that time they may not necessarily be paying you money, they are saying, okay, I'm going to raise my hand and I'm going to pay attention to you. Can you send me something else that I can take a look at? Right? So calls to action are really important that way. So that way your audience knows what it is that you want them to do. So unless you clearly call those people to take action, they won't. Much like with a plan, if you don't tell them what the plan is, they're probably not going to move. And if you don't call them to action, they're probably not going to take that first step. This is why when you think about why people aren't doing the thing that you want them to do, clicking on the button, going to the link, picking up the phone, many times it may just be that you haven't told them to do it. You just need to give them that direction. Okay, so we're still thinking about stories, right? We got the character. What does the character want? The problem is getting in the way. The guide is like, I'm going to be by your side. We're going to do this together. Here's the plan. All right, let's get started. Then what you want to do is you want to talk about, in theater, we call this raising the stakes, right? So if you've ever gone to an improv show or a comedy show, or you watch a sketch comedy show, there's usually an idea. And then what happens after that? Right? And usually gets bigger and bigger and bigger, right? But in your marketing, with this kind of a story, what you want to do is you want to say, okay, if you're looking at the upper right-hand corner here, what does success look like? If you get this right, here's what life is going to look like on the other side. I know right now that it might seem a little scary, but if you get this right, think about how great it's going to be to be able to do the things that you love to do day in, day out. Think about how great it's going to be to not have to worry about that thing all the time that you're always worried about, because we'll have solved that problem for you. And you start to then paint that picture of what success looks like. And you can use this in your content when you're showing images of what success looks like. Shiny, happy people who've experienced the results that you get to do for your patients every day. Right? So success, talk about what that success looks like. And on the flip side, so you want to cast that vision, right, of what their lives can look like when they're experiencing your treatments, when they are using the products that you have, when they take advantage of the services that you offer. And on the flip side, we don't want to do this a lot, but we want to say, like, if you do nothing, then here's what's going to happen. And that's really important to bring up too. Again, we just want to kind of use it like salt in a recipe, especially like a baking recipe. We're not going to use a lot of it, but it helps amplify the other flavors. So you can say, look, if you do nothing, you're probably not going to go to that family thing because you're worried about the thing that is going to happen there. Or you're not going to be able to enjoy the things that you enjoy because you've got some pain around it. Whatever it is, right? Make it make sense for your brand. But you also want to raise the stakes so that way it matters. If there's no consequences for not doing business with you, there's no reason to do business with you. When you put together the problem that the customer has or that the character has, right? And then you also couch it with these kinds of consequences. Here's what's going to happen. Here's what life is going to look like if you get this right. And here's what's going to happen if you do nothing. It really helps to bring it together for the hero of that story to realize, yeah, this is important. I have to do this. And so then again, what you offer, the things that you have for them don't become nice to haves. They become needs to have. Yes, it is time. I no longer want to deal with this anymore. I no longer want to walk this path. I want to walk that path. You've cast a vision for me and I want to step into that. Right? So that's the idea. Those are the different parts of the story. And you've seen this in movies all the time, right? So then the question is the story that you are telling, is it clear and is it compelling? So the compelling part we've already sort of talked about, right? We've really like brought in those dynamic elements, casting the vision, having the plan, calling them to action. But I want to kind of underline this idea of making it really clear and using as few words as you can to tell that story. So that way, if you only have a little bit of space on your website, people understand what that call to action is. Or if you only have a small amount of words before the read more on a LinkedIn post or in an Instagram post or something like that, then people still understand what it is because you've used a succinct amount of words to tell that story. So you want the story to be clear and you want the story to be compelling. So that's what we do in terms of marketing. So if we take what we know from stories and then we put it into our marketing, you think, what do your customers want? What is the problem that is getting in the way of them experiencing that thing? Have you positioned your brand as the guide to the hero? Have you created a clear plan for the hero to win the day, right? Help them win. Are your calls to action clear? Have you explained what your life will look like if they do business with you? And have you explained the negative consequences of them not doing business with you? Jody, let's make sure that we get this. Can we give the slides to people when they watch the replay of this?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Good. Okay, great. So I know that you're watching this. I know I'm throwing a lot of this at you, but you're going to have all of these slides so that way you can really ask these questions. Because what I have found is, and I worked with the Florida Center for Hormones and Wellness. I worked for a number of different medical practices in the past, not just hormone clinics, but other ones as well. And many times they will have some of these. They will have so we've got 7 different questions here that you want your marketing to answer. Many times, 4 of those questions might be answered, but not all 7. And that's what we want to really make sure that you have. You don't need to use all 7 all the time, right? So you might, for example, in an introductory email, if somebody first signs up for your email list, you might use all of these, put them in like a paragraph form to answer all of these questions together and use that as sort of an introduction to your brand, right? You're basically telling that story that they can step into that's all about them. But for social media content or maybe some smaller, shorter video content, things like that, maybe you just want to have a few of these talking points, but over the course of the campaign that you're doing, you want to make sure that those talking points are covered. On your website, homepage on your website, you definitely want to make sure you have all 7 of these elements. And many times I am seeing that we'll see a bunch, it'll be sort of weighted with, maybe 4 out of 7. So these are the questions that when you answer them, you're really helping the reader, the audience, your patients, your potential patients know that they're the hero of the story. They know what problem they're going to know what you offer. They're going to know how it makes their lives better. And they're going to know how they can get it. So this is a brand script. I use these all the time. Here's how I use them. First, when I'm working with a company, and so if I were to sit down with your practice, first we would come up with a brand script that's just for your company as a whole. That's just for your practice as a whole. Then what we might do is create a brand script for each one of the services that you offer. So that way, when somebody clicks on the page about that one service, we've answered those 7 questions. Those 7 talking points have been addressed. And then what I might do is if, for example, you're going to, I don't know, you're going to have so it's July when I'm recording this. So maybe you're going to have some kind of a back to school campaign, marketing campaign, which is all about get yourself ready for the new school year, blah, blah, blah. Um, then I would create a brand script for that campaign, right? And I would fill out each one of these talking points. And then that's what we would use over and over and over again for the campaign, for the service, and for the brand as a whole, right? So this is really easy. You just answer these questions and fill them out on this kind of a form. Obviously, you can, many times I will take this, to be totally honest, I'll put it into Chat GPT and then I will say, these are the answers that we're looking for. And I'll use that as my rough draft to get started, right? So that is the crux of creating a brand script for your company, for the different services that you offer. So here's your plan. Here's how you could do this to get started. So if you're like, yes, I like this idea. I like the idea of having our patients or our potential patients really be the focus. We want them to be the hero. They are the reason we are doing everything that we are doing. So when you want to start flipping that idea that it's all about you and your company and your brand to it's really all about them, and most likely I do find that many of the medical practices that I have worked with they're already oriented this way anyway, obviously, because they're so focused on healing and helping the patients that they have. So here's what your plan would be. Remember, we talked about a plan. So sit down with your team. I find, you don't need to have everybody in the room, but like 3 people in the room who would sort of make sense. If you've got somebody who handles the marketing, you've got your, the owner of the practice, whoever needs to really be in the room. So sit down with them, write your brand script, answer those questions, these questions right here, put them on your script, put them in your notebook, put them, whatever, however you're going to do it. Sit down with your team, write your brand script, and then use it consistently throughout your marketing. Good marketing is an example of memorization, right? Saying the same things over and over and over again. You probably right now can think of a jingle to some commercial that you've known for like 20, 25, 40 years because you heard it a lot of times. That's the kind of thing that you want people to know with your marketing, that when they come to you, they understand what you offer, how it's going to make their lives better, and how they can get it. Now, once you do that, run it by me. I'll be happy to go through it with you. You could schedule a call with me. You can go to downstage.media. You'll see there's a button that says schedule a call. I will be happy to give you some feedback on the brand script that you put together, or if you're stuck on a certain area of it, you're not exactly sure how to define what the character want is. I help people with this all the time. I've literally worked with thousands of companies, all different kinds of companies, including many medical practices, to help them with the brand scripts for their brands as a whole, different treatments that they offer, or just specific marketing campaigns. So I'd be happy to just take a look, get a second set of eyes on it. So you could go to downstage.media and schedule a call is on the top of every page. But if you take nothing else from this, just remember that if you confuse, you lose. You do not want to confuse your audience. You want to make it really clear what it is what the problem is that you're solving, what the solution is that you offer, what the successful result is that they're going to have, and then how they can get started, right? So they won't take action if they don't know what to do and if you're not making it really clear. So that is the basic idea right there behind getting yourself a brand script and just using this framework over and over again in your marketing. I'm happy to go through it again, downstage.media, schedule a call with me, and we can go through it together. Jody, speaking of going through things, I'm going to stop sharing now. When I was going through this presentation, was there anything that kind of came up for you in terms of what you've seen in your marketing with hormone clinics or just with many of the medical practices that you work with all the time? Anything that this sparked in your mind?
You read my mind because I wrote down some
Oh,
questions while you were talking.
okay.
So,
Good.
yeah, the first thing is that, one of the things I know about a lot of medical clinics is they're not used to spending money on marketing.
Uh-huh.
And so it's a little bit of a push for them to invest and really understand the value, and a lot of times they try to do it themselves. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But
Yeah.
knowing that some people will try to do it themselves, if
Hmm.
you follow the framework that you beautifully laid out, where do you see most people kind of mess up that plan? Is it
Yeah.
not doing a great call to action? Is it trying to put too many benefits? Like where the mistakes happen?
You know what? I'll tell you where I see it happen the most, especially now that so many people use um, ChatGPT when they're creating marketing content. So here's one of the biggest issues that I see is there's too much stuff, right? So remember when we talked about the idea of not just making the story compelling, but making it clear. So oftentimes when you put it into ChatGPT, which is totally fine. I use it all the time. So it's not about that. But here's what I will often see when I'm going through brand scripts with clients is that it'll say, we know that the problem is that you have this and you have this and you have that, right? I think probably many AI tools are trying to cover more bases at once. So they've got a bunch in there. But what I will tell people time and time again is pick which one of these three is the most valuable and which one is going to resonate the most with your audience. And so then pick that. The other two you can use another time. Don't leave them on the cutting room floor. Many times we'll put together a word bank and we'll use them in other places, but less is more. So really avoid conjunctions and or but any of those, try to avoid them because it's just going to give you too much to go on and you want it to be crystal clear.
That's so, so great. I feel like, and I do it myself, and I mean, I've been doing marketing for decades, and I
Yes.
fall in this trap every time. It's that I write like I'm never going to send another email again.
Yes.
Or like I'm never going to make another social post again, and
Yes.
everything has to go out. And it's really difficult to switch your mindset and be the recipient of the message as you're writing. So
Right.
that's a really, really good feedback. Um,
Because here's the thing too, is I find people will put a lot of information in there,
mhm.
partly because they don't want to forget, right? Like you're saying, like, what I'm working on my marketing right now. I need to say all these things. I need to get it out in my brain. But when you have a brand script like this, that then remember, like the third part of the plan is to use it consistently with your team. So make sure that everybody has it in some kind of a playbook or something where they know where it is, so that way, yeah, you don't have to talk about every single one of those successful results, but you've got them to banked. And then maybe in one social media post, you mention it, and a couple of posts later, you'll mention another one. But you've done that pre work ahead of time, you've figured it out, and you have a place where people can refer to it. And so if you have somebody handling your social media, or if whatever it is, then it's all in one spot where everyone can find it and you don't have that panic of, oh, we got to get it all out there because I don't know when this is going to happen again. No, it'll happen again and everyone knows how to find it, and we don't have to panic.
Yeah. Would you say too that, because you mentioned doing the framework multiple times for different results or different
Yeah.
benefits, would you say the same is true for multiple audiences?
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Okay.
Because it might be um, that you are, for example, I've worked with a lot of, like some of the medical practices that I've worked with are, the people that they serve are usually younger, right? Maybe it's like young athletes, right? So I remember one of the companies I was working with, they're a practice and they would do like physical therapy, usually for like middle school and student athletes, middle school and high school athletes. So their Instagram account was for them, was for the students. But a lot of the what's on their website was for the parents, right? So that way that was really clear what the treatment plan is, how does it work, how long have you been in the area, blah blah blah. So yes, it's as long as you've got those talking points, sure, you can have it that it goes to a different audience. So maybe your brand script might change a little bit for your Instagram audience than it might for your website, right? Or even for certain pages on your website, if there's a page that's just for the students to take in.
I would say that even, I mean, like, we'll go back to the social media portion of it.
Yeah,
You don't have to have one channel just for an audience. I think people feel like, oh, I'm posting so much, I'm inundating, my audience with too many messages. The truth is that rarely are people even seeing your messages. There's so much clutter in their social media feeds that you could have like do a post a day and each day target a different audience if with your message,
totally. Yes.
and and you'll get everybody. So yeah, that's a really, really good point.
Well, and also because I usually check this quarterly. I just haven't checked it because now we just started the third quarter. But of the years that I've been checking it, I've never seen it go above 5%, which means that when you post something on Instagram, at most 5% of your followers are seeing it. So I'm not great with math, everybody. And so you're all probably better at math than I am. But if you've got 100 followers, only 5 of them might see it. And it's usually lower than that. And it's not that much different across other platforms like Facebook or LinkedIn. So
Yeah.
yes, you think that you're putting out all this stuff, which is why I think it is really important to make sure that you have ways. Remember when we talked about collecting people's information, if they're not ready to pay you money, but they're still interested in paying attention, that's where you want to have a little bit more ownership of what gets seen by making sure that you're collecting their email addresses. So that way you can also email them as well, because email has a better deliverability than social media does. So social media is a great way to be found, but if you're trying to really nurture relationships, you kind of want to have that multi-channel approach.
How did you know that my second question was going to be about that?
Because okay, here's what you guys need to know. You're watching. So Jody and I have known each other for a long time, but the more that we get to know each other, the more like we're like we understand that our brains kind of work the same way, very similarly. So it's not surprising that you would have had the same question because yeah, we think very similarly.
And I'm all about leads. Like, I love lead generation. To me, that is the most fun part of marketing. It's like a puzzle. It's like they have a problem, you have a solution.
Yep.
How do you attract the person who has the problem to look at you so that you can provide the solution? So,
Yeah.
talking about lead magnets, and you talked about the calls to action.
Mhm.
How would you advise somebody to create a lead magnet that is really going to resonate so that the person who sees it wants to take that action of exchanging their email for it?
Yeah. So this is actually what's gotten really fun recently because and this is a lot of what I'll talk about when I'm working with clients, especially because everybody knows that you could do a PDF, the 7 reasons why X, Y, and Z, right? Fine, fine. But I like to get really creative with it. And I like to figure out who are the people in the brand who might be willing to look at a different way. We can always write that. We can always do some kind of a PDF, but I just find that people don't if they download it, they don't take it in, they don't read it. So one thing is I like to choose a different form of media. So maybe it's that you create a video and there's like just a video series that people will give you their email address in exchange for a video series. So I did this for a physical therapist where, yes, we had the PDF, but on the PDF, you could click and see different videos where he would show you different exercises that you could do, different stretches that you could do to alleviate some issues that were addressed. So, but then we just tried instead of the PDF, just offering it as a video series and did so much better. Also, you could take the videos, you could just extract the audio, and you can have a basically like a little like a podcast, like an audio podcast, right? So many people listen to podcasts now that for you to deliver your content to them via audio is not weird anymore,
Yeah.
right? So that's another way that you can do it. So I like to get kind of dynamic and really find out, like when I'm sitting down with a brand and we're trying to figure out what those lead generators are going to be, like what that content is going to be, one element that we look at is what do you already have? Because especially if you don't have a lot of bandwidth or you don't have a lot of budget or something, maybe you've already got some stuff that we can just bundle up and use already. If you've got a bunch of blog posts you've written, or you've got a bunch of YouTube videos you've already done, we'll try to make the most of that. But then also play to your strengths. So, what's going to work really well? So, if you have people on your team who are great on camera, we're going to use that, right? Make some videos. Or if you have other people who aren't great on camera, but they really love to write, how can we make that really accessible and really play to their strengths? So maybe it's that they do a cool little like text message campaign once a week or something like that, right? Where it's just here's some food for thought that's going to make sense with the problem you solve. So I'd like to see like what do you have? What's your bandwidth? What are your strengths? And what's your audience going to like? That's usually kind of what I'm putting together in the mix when we're trying to figure out what makes for a good lead magnet in terms of what kind of stuff to make. Now, one thing really easy with lead generators is solve a basic problem. So many times people will say, oh, yeah, I want to give them like the first 3 chapters of our book because we talk about 50 different ways that you could do blah, 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 blah. But then people get really overwhelmed. So instead of like, how do you, I don't know, like bake a 7 layer cake from scratch and then ice it and then decorate it, maybe you just offer them how to decorate a 7 layer cake that's already iced. So it's a really quick win. But if they want to dive deeper, then you've got a really clear call to action in that lead generator. So that way people know how to dive deeper with you.
Totally, totally. I was my brain went off while you were talking. I heard this statistic, slightly off topic, but said this author said that 80% of all people who buy books don't read them.
Uh huh.
And out
Mm-hmm.
of the 20% that do, 10% only read the first chapter.
Oh, my word.
And so what he was sharing, because he was talking about like using a book as a lead magnet,
Uh huh.
especially if you're a professional services provider and you
Yeah.
want to write a book to show how you know your topic. He said, don't lead everything up to later in the book. Put everything you know, all
Oh, front
the
load it.
goodies in the first chapter, because most people are not going to get past that first chapter.
That's a good idea. Now, I have seen along those lines, I've seen that you make your chapter titles very clear with what it's going to be. So that way, if people want to flip ahead or something, then they kind of know. But I like that front loading the first chapter. I haven't heard that before.
So we can use that same philosophy in our lead magnets. I
Yes.
mean, everybody wants to, lead up to the cool thing.
Yeah.
With our society and the way we are these days and the attention span we have to go back to the old news mantra, if it bleeds, it leads, like to put all the good stuff at the beginning.
Yeah. Don't bury the lead. Yeah. Totally. And make it simple that they can have some kind of a
Yeah.
quick win so they understand at the end of it, okay, now I know how I can go implement it and they can get some kind of a quick win, some kind of nice result, and then they're going to want more of that. And so they're going to come back to you for it.
And I'm going to get on my soapbox for a second.
Yes, get on it.
So if you're going to go through all that trouble,
Hmm.
make sure there's a follow-up.
Yes, yes.
I was actually so I'm now working with a marketing agency with AMP because lawyers don't represent themselves in court and doctors don't do surgery on themselves. So we have
Yep.
been engaging with a marketing company, and we were talking today about, we were just like joking like how long people have been on our list and they finally took an action.
Yes.
Like I had a call today with a doctor who they've been on our list for 18 months. They finally called today. So like you never know, and so don't give up and make sure to have that automated, because if we wait for the person to take that next action from that cool, amazing lead magnet, then even if you did everything right,
Yes.
life takes over and off they go and they may forget about you, in a couple of months. So all right, let's
That
talk.
is a great, yes, I overlooked saying that. Yes, absolutely. So they give you their email address. They're taking in the information that you're giving them, and hopefully they are then taking that next step. And at the same time, that's also triggering some kind of an automation in place. So that way, then they start to hear from you. They gave you their email address for a reason. It's up to you to use it and make the most out of it. Yeah, for sure. Great point.
Absolutely. And I get some of these people who email like every day. It's a little frustrating, but here's the thing. I don't delete them. I mean,
Right.
excuse me, I don't unsubscribe. I delete them knowing that I'm going to get one the next day or in a week. And so it's like, okay, I know that it's coming, so I can, kind of get rid of the one from today. I don't have any interest in it today. And that's just like speaking back to the mindset of the consumer now. It's like we're inundated with hundreds of emails every single day. Doesn't mean you stop using the medium.
Right. Because what you want is when they are looking for the services that you offer, like when they're looking for the treatment that you provide,
Yeah,
you want to be one of the top three people that they reach out to. And
absolutely.
by being top of inbox, it'll help you be top of mind.
Especially with hormones, because we have a tendency to take care of ourselves last. And so
Mhm.
I've seen this
Mhm.
time and time again where, somebody's not feeling right. They hear about hormones, they do a little bit of research, then they go back to their life and they do a little more research and they go back to life. And then all of a sudden, one day at 4 in the afternoon, they've had it.
Mhm.
Today's the day I'm going to take an action.
Right.
And they can go to their inbox and it'll be right there.
Yeah. Yes, for sure.
So if somebody was wanted to work with you,
Yeah.
you're offering a free call, which is fantastic, and you'll
Yes.
help them out. But if somebody wants to work with you, what's the typical time frame from
Mhm.
when you start like that discovery to
Yep.
when some content is ready to go and off into the universe?
Yeah, so we usually start off with a brand script just because we find it's really helpful for any other content that we're going to go off and create, whether it's email, whether it's social, or if I'm just going to be sort of working with you one on one and then advising your team. So the brand script is really where we like to start. And from the brand script planning session that we'll have to when we usually have a finished brand script for you to see is about 2 to 3 weeks. So I just started working with somebody yesterday, and that's usually the time frame. It can be longer if it's a sort of thing where you want me to just work with you and your team one on one and you actually write the brand script so that way you understand how this framework works and you can use it in the future for your other campaigns or your other treatments, your other services. But many times I'd be like, let me just do the first one for you. And then you'll kind of understand how it works. And it's usually about a 2 to 3 week turnaround.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. This has been so incredibly informative. I learned a lot today, and I read his
I
books.
know you read the book. I can watch
I
it
have,
live.
but still, somehow when you say things, oh, what? Wait,
Wait, I just realized something.
what?
So speaking of, anybody who reach out to me, tell me that you watched this and you watched it all the way to the end. I will send you a copy of Building a Story Brand, and I will also send you a copy of my book, Simple Social Media. So
Which
send
is
me.
wonderful, by the way, guys. You want to read that.
Yes. So send me, you've got my, so go to downstage.media. You'll see where you could schedule a call. You'll be able to reach out to me there. And I will happily send you the those two books. So reach out to me and I'll send you that for watching this, watching all the way through to the end. Bravo to you.
And if you
And yeah,
don't, if you want to just reply to the email that you have the replay in, I will make sure to get that to Annie. So
perfect. There we
yeah,
go.
absolutely. All right. Well, my love, thank you so much
Thank
for
you. And thank you for watching, everyone.
yeah, definitely. And downstage.media, if anyone has any questions or wants to reach out to Annie, again, wealth of knowledge. And what I love about what you do is you offer both done for you
Hmm.
or do it yourself. You'll teach
Yep.
somebody what to do. So if they want to bring some staff members in and take care of for themselves in the future, you just teach them and off they go.
Yep.
Or you'll take care of everything for them. So
Right. Just
awesome.
kind of depends on where your bandwidth is, what you need, what your time frame is. But yeah, we can make that happen for you either way, whatever's going to make the most sense. So,
All right.
well, thank you, Accelerated Medical Practices crew tonight. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you soon.
Sounds good. All right. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Bye.